Hey all, Meg Bolger here from Facilitator Cards. What you are about to check out is our Brain Jam on Gather. So every month here at Facilitator Cards, we bring together our facilitator community for a Brain Jam where we explore a new tool, technique, or technology that we can use to enhance our facilitation practice, and right now our virtual facilitation practice. So in the month of February, we explored the platform of Gather, which has a ton of cool potential for us as facilitators, as it allows us to inhabit a virtual world with our participants. So we explored a lot of the integrations, we explored some of the different ways we might use this as facilitators, and some of the problems that Gather might help us solve. So I will timestamp this video so you can hop around the Brain Jam if you would like. It is almost there in its entirety for you to check out. I did cut out 10 minutes right at the beginning of the video because somebody was having mic troubles, and that is mostly what I was helping them with during our free exploration time, so didn't want to subject you to that. I will leave a couple other links below for you as well. One is the link to the actual space if you want to hop in to explore it in Gather, our write-up concluding a lot of the insights that we had from across all three Brain Jams, if you are interested, including our encore session, which was a builder's session, which might answer a few questions you have around building in Gather. So I'll leave all of that below. Hope you learn a lot and hope to maybe catch you at a future Brain Jam. Hello, everyone. So my name is Meg. I'm one of the co-founders of Facilitator Cards. Sam, who's the other co-founder of Facilitator Cards, is in the space as well, wandering around today and doing a little dance at the moment, if you can see Sam on your screen. And I do a lot of the logistics and community events with Facilitator Cards, like the Brain Jams, and I am a longtime facilitation geek. So I've been doing facilitation for about 10 years now, and I just love this world of working with groups and connecting with folks. Brain Jams are Facilitator Cards community events where we bring together our Facilitator Cards community and explore something that can enhance our facilitation. And right now we are often looking to advance our virtual facilitation, as that is the main type of facilitation most of us are doing. In the past, we've done Brain Jams on AHA slides and on Mural, and today we are brain jamming on Gather. Sam just messaged in the chat and wants to let everyone know that he is available for tech support and for chat support. So if at any point you're just like, I'm totally lost and I need help, you can go ahead and alert Sam, or you can also find me or Sam during the Brain Jam, and we will figure that out together. So today's Brain Jam is on Gather. We are going to get to know Gather. That's the first thing we're going to do in a moment. We're going to explore it. And then we're going to be shifting our brains into what does this platform make possible for our virtual facilitations. So quick Gather orientation. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes with just free exploration time. Okay, so you move your avatar around this space with your arrow keys. So if you want to go ahead and try to move your avatar right now, yeah, you should see your little guy moving, your little figure moving, and you stay centered in the window. Okay, Gather is a lot like real life. And what I mean by that is if you aren't close to someone, you can't talk to them in real life. And just like in Gather, when you get close to someone, a connection will be made with your audio and your video, and you'll be able to see and hear them. And if you walk away from them, it will fade out, unless they are spotlighted like me right now. So I'm using the kind of loud, I'm essentially taking the mic. And you have to hear me, but otherwise, as soon as I drop this spotlight, you will have to be near folks in order to hear and speak to them. Okay, the only other thing I want to tell you before I set you off into exploration mode, which some of you are doing, is that there are boundaries to the map. You can't get lost entirely. There are edges to the map. And if you see something like a portal and you think that you should be able to access it, know that that's blocked on purpose, and we will unlock that later in the Brain Jam. All right, so I'm going to give you the next 10 minutes, free explore the space, see what you can find and interact with each other. You're all exploring this together, and I will get back on the loudspeaker when we are ready to come back together after this free exploration time. So I would encourage you to leave your camera and your mic on if you are in a quiet space, because that way we can most freely interact with each other and have it be most like real life, where we don't walk around with the ability to just not hear or see each other. So I'm going to encourage you to do that if you are able, and I'm going to jump off the mic and see you in 10 minutes. Hey everyone, Meg is jumping on the loudspeaker here to say, come on back to the main square. We are gonna be chatting it up, and if you can jump into the fountain when you come back, I would love to hear about everybody's experience. Okay, awesome. So, awesome, great. Okay, so everybody who is in the fountain right now, I want to let you know that we are in essentially a large, what is called a private area, which means we can all hear each other now, and you can see the first 6 people that you are closest to. So I will encourage folks to keep their mics unmuted unless you have a really loud background noise, both here and just for the duration of the workshop. All right, so we had time to explore and get to gather a little bit. So I would love to know, and we're gonna do this, because there's almost 17 of us, we're gonna do this kind of traditional workshop style where I'll have you raise your hand. So go ahead and hit number 6 on your keyboard. Okay, awesome. Okay, so when you hit number 6 on your keyboard, that will raise your hand. And if you go ahead and hit number 4, awesome, that will give me a thumbs up, and that will also clear your hand raising. Kind of like in real life, when you change your hand from this to this, it will lower your hand. Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna ask is, if you want to share, if you wanna like, oh, I wanna share here, just raise your hand. And then what I'll do is I will spotlight you, and that will make sure that everybody can both see and hear you. Right now we can hear you, but we wouldn't be able to see you necessarily. So my first question is, I would love to hear some just initial impressions. When you got dropped into Gather, did anybody have an initial impression that they would want to share out? And go ahead and hit number 6, raise your hand if you're up for sharing. Awesome. All right. We've got, is it Kirsten?
Kirsten, yeah.
Kirsten.
My initial impression was, it was like flashback to the 80s in terms of like the pixelated little dudes. That was very fun. 80s, 90s, I guess I should say. And yeah, it was just fun to roam around and see what I could see, and discovered a couple of secret little tricks, which was interesting with the little press X thing. So yeah, my initial impression is fun. What's next?
Okay, sweet. And we got, I see, Rami? Am I pronouncing that right, Rami?
It's Romy.
Romy, okay.
Yeah, I feel like I keep saying to everyone who I've met, like, I feel that I was just transported inside a video game, and I'm not someone who plays video games usually, but this is a really interesting, just like a new visual approach, and I'm curious to learn more.
Awesome. Cool. Did anybody have, I would love to know what people's experience was meeting other people in the space. Like, what was it like to walk up to someone and, you know, connect with them for the first time? Let me see, I'm gonna throw it over here. We've got Jason from Seattle.
Yeah, I was good. Even before you asked that, I was going to jump in on that because I noticed immediately it felt almost like socially awkward as if you were in real life. Like walking up to a group that's already gathered, do I insert myself into this conversation? And if so, how? So that was the experience I had. It felt almost like real life sort of social awkwardness at first.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's super true, and I think that in some ways that social awkwardness is a good thing, to have it feel more lifelike. Johnny.
It was almost like if their video popped up, it was the equivalent to making eye contact with someone, and so it's like, hey. But if their video didn't pop up, it's like I can keep going. So very, very similar to like normal interaction.
Okay, and were you using their video being on as a cue to talk to them? Is that what I was hearing you say?
Yeah, for the most part, I feel like if I got to see their video and I saw their face, I knew they wanted to chat. If I did, I just kept going.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, that's great that's like we didn't make that an official interaction, but I think that's what people do. What I see people do in gatherers, they're like, oh, I see you don't want to talk. All right, Crystal.
Oh, I was just, I think I ran into, I can't remember who, but I was just laughing and it was funny. I ran into another group and I'm like, oh, so I can just randomly come into your conversation. So I loved it because I'm nosy because I like going up to people and talking anyway. So I thought it was great to be able to just join a group and then automatically appear in their group. It was a little awkward if, maybe they were already talking about something, but you just kind of make yourself part of the group. So,
yeah, I love it.
I enjoyed it.
And Bruno, I'll throw it over to you. Bruno, did you want to share?
What they about extraordinary say? The film thing. So actually, it's not my first time here in Gathertown. I had chance to for half an hour to be it was in a big spot. We had this workshop to try new platform and we try out this. But basically, I'm here because I really wanted to discover and practice more how to plan it, some activity here.
Great. Yes, that is what I want us to get into as well. So I am going to move us now into a couple of you discovered, and I think it was Kirsten who mentioned it, that there are interactable objects in a space. Can you give me a thumbs up with your avatar? That's number 4. If you found a whiteboard during your exploration. Yeah, okay, great. So about half of the group found a whiteboard and half of you are like, there's whiteboards? Okay, awesome. So we are going to explore a couple of different things, including whiteboards. And we are going to move into a tour. So what I'm going to do in a moment is we're going to head into a completely different space. So this was, you put your hand down by basically activating any other emoji, Crystal. So thumbs up will do it. And that's the easiest way. You can also lower it by using the toolbar at the bottom where there's a smiley face. That will also give you the emojis. So we're going to head out on a tour in just a moment, and I will be your tour guide. And we're going to head indoors to a space that I created. And I'm just going to introduce you to a couple of different stations. And at each station, I'm going to ask you to do something to learn about an interactable piece or an integration that Gather has in the platform. And the goal of this is to just be able to know what's possible, and then ideally know what's possible for us to use as facilitators when we are running our workshops and our trainings. So let me see.
Looks like you might have a question from Zuzka.
Okay.
Or Zuzka doesn't know that she's currently raising her hand. I do know I'm currently.
Yes.
I was going to just say one thing before we leave this.
Yes.
I know you said you see the video of the first 6 people around you. So one of the things I was taught early on was like, there's this double arrow that's underneath the bottom person, and if you click that, you can see more people.
Yes.
So that's kind of sometimes too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Zuzka. So that's, I find, really helpful if you're kind of in this static moment with people and you want to see a couple of more videos. I want to be able to see your little avatars because that was helpful for like hand raising and thumbs up. So you can toggle that. I will encourage you for the next little bit, especially to leave that up just because we're going to be using the map so much. But there is that feature and a way to connect more large scale with people, especially if you're having one-on-one or small group conversations. Okay, all right. So we're going to keep this tour. We're going to clip through this. So I am going to ask you to hold questions till the end. If you have a question about one of the features, just take a note of that and we will make sure to get all questions at the end. So let's try to stay close. To me, I will stay spotlighted, but do try to stay close and let's go on the tour. Did it not work? Hold on. Glitch in the matrix. There we go. Okay. Welcome to my all-purpose facilitator space in Gather. Okay, I am going to ask you to stay close. I know there's a lot to explore, but stay close and we will get to everything in the room. Basically, something you should know is that every time you fade away and then come back, it has to create a new connection. And so it takes a minute to have everybody's videos load. So if you can stay close, that will be great. Although I'm just about to ask you to try something out. So,
Okay. It's just me or is that room?
Oh, sorry. Okay, awesome. So there is a way to easily see where I am. So you can, if you go to the participants tab, so there's a little user icon in the bottom left, and then you find my name, which I'll make right at the top. Or I don't know if that makes it at the top for you, but if you find, it does? Okay, find my name. There is 2 ways to find me. You can either hit follow, which will bring you to me, or you can locate on the map, and that will give you a little way to navigate right to me. It takes a bit to upload the room. Yes, Gather is a kind of like heavy interface. So, and then, okay, and then maybe we'll have folks in just a moment. Well, I'll do that in a moment. Okay, so these little pods of chairs are, I want you to go over to one of the pods of chairs and just see what happens. Go ahead and stand in one of the pods of chairs. Okay, so what you hopefully noticed is that people around you fade out. And what that means is you are now in a little private area, and the private areas, as soon as you jump into them, you can only see people who are sharing your private area. Bruno, I think a lot of people are muted right now, so that might be why you can't hear them. If you can hear me, that's going to be the main thing on the tour that will be helpful. But please let us know if you can't hear me. That's an important thing. So when you're in a little private area, you can only hear the people around you, even if people walk right by. So this is really helpful for small group conversations. I've essentially created a bunch of breakout rooms that you have now all opted into. So this is really awesome for small group conversations and ways for people to have really small private chats. You can make a private square as small as 1. So if people wanted to just be, I want to just be myself right now and I don't want to interact with people, you can actually make that happen. Or you can make them as large as you would like as well. So come on down, follow me down the map, and we're going to go into a large private area. Okay, so if you can go stand in the corners of the garden, but stay on the bright green. Okay, so now we are all in a large private area. And even though Candace and Jason are really physically far apart in the space, they would still be able to, if you're unmuted, hear and speak to each other because you're in the same private area. Okay, so this is kind of like a large classroom, I guess, where all of us can still hear and interact even though we're in a larger space. So this is helpful if you want to be able to run activities where you want people to move far away from each other, like four corners, but you want everyone to still be able to hear and see each other. Okay, so that's large private areas. You're also noticing probably these podiums that I have around. So if you go stand on those highlighted squares behind the podium, okay, awesome. You are now spotlighted. If you are, you can practice social dancing, awesome. So if you're on the podium, you are now spotlighted, which means everyone can hear you and they can see you. So if you have had that experience, jump off, get someone else on the podium just so they can see that. Awesome. So I am spotlighted permanently right now. Like I can just make that happen as a moderator. But all of you, if you're at a podium spot, will also have that like universal command. So you'll see a little globe icon in the top right of your video when you're on the spotlight square, and that means you're broadcasting globally. So that's really helpful, and we'll probably use that feature a little bit later. And we'll see the different ways you can use it. I like, oh, sorry. Was someone asking a question? Nope, okay, we're gonna continue with the tour. All right, come follow me over to the couch pods. All right, so check out, everybody go sit yourself on one of those wonderful big red couches. And when you are over there, press X to interact with the object that is in the middle of those couches. Okay, so if it's working, what you should see when you press X is, it might take a moment to load, but what you want to be seeing is a Google Doc. And that Google Doc, can you give me a thumbs up if you're seeing that? Awesome. So that Google Doc is integrated right into Gather, and you can now interact with it in Gather and see the people who are around you who are also interacting with that Google Doc right at the top of your screen. So I think there's a prompt in there to type your name. I just wanted you to be able to see that you can live edit that Google Doc right in the moment. But if you're feeling more creative, that's great. Also, I love that many of you took the time to sit on the couches in like the right direction, and I love that you're doing that. I think that's really wonderful. Oh my gosh, I realized, Joy, that I misread I saw social dancing versus social distancing, and I think that's hilarious. I would love, you can use Gather to do social distance, social dancing. Okay. Yeah, Sam also just reminded me, if everybody wants to come up to right next to these balloons up here and leave the Google Doc, you press X to leave it again, or there's an X in the top right corner of the Google Doc. So come on up here near the balloons. We're going to do a really quick stretch break with our avatars. Hold down Z. And your avatar should start to dance. Yes. Okay, amazing. And it like fills up this little 8-bit heart. It's beautiful. Okay, this is a really great picture, everyone. I love it.
What
okay.
What are we holding down?
We're holding down Z, the key Z. And
Z as in Victor?
Z as in Zelda, like this game. Like this game we're in.
Sorry, I'm not doing it right.
So you have to make sure that you're clicked into Gather, but yeah, hopefully the Z key should work. We'll troubleshoot that. If you're having trouble dancing, we'll work on your dancing in a bit. Okay, we've got a couple more stops on the tour. So one of those is these whiteboards. So go ahead over to one of the whiteboards And when you get close, click X, and you're going to be transported back to Microsoft Paint. Or at least that's what it reminds me of. So head over to one of those whiteboards and click X to interact with it. All right, so I want to let you know, if you saw drawings before you even got started, that was from yesterday's group. So the whiteboards are, unless you clear them, they are permanent, essentially. They will stay and retain all of your wonderful doodles. So just give a quick doodle on there so that you can see and leave your mark on the whiteboard. And I think the whiteboards are a really powerful tool as facilitators. We obviously know how to, so many of us rely on them for in person, but I think they create a lot of whimsy and possibility for people to, draw things and do things a little bit differently than typing or talking out loud. Those are some of my favorite ways to use the whiteboard, is to bring a little bit of levity and fun back into a workshop, and especially a digital workshop, which can sometimes feel so static. All right, we have 2 more stops on the tour. So, and if you want to play around with these things more, we will have lots of time. You'll have unlimited time at the end of the Brain Jam to spend as long as you want getting your doodle on or playing around with the other interfaces. So I am going to pull you away from the whiteboards, and I want to show you 2 other things. The first is this screen up here, which is essentially like something that's on the wall. So if you walk up to it and press X, you'll see a large quote of one of my favorite thinkers and people on education, Bell Hooks. So I think of this as, and if you've seen it, like Haley, you're like right on it, Haley. If you've seen it and you're like, okay, cool, that was a cool interaction piece, you can walk away so we can make sure to rotate people in to see it. Because much like a physical space, if you stand in front of it permanently, other people can't see it. Awesome. So I just wanted to show you that it's possible to upload an image or even like something really high resolution like a poster that you want people to be able to see. You can do that right in the space. So I really like that feature for things like gallery walks and being able to put different things up around the room that people can see and interact with. So we have one more of those sorts of, you can see and interact with something right on the wall, and that is the YouTube integration. So we're going to come down to the library, and there are videos on the walls in the library. Now, I'm going to encourage you not to get sucked in too much to them, but I just want to show you their function. So the videos on the top or at the north side of the library, those are cat videos, because that's what the internet was invented for. And those cat videos, you start them when you want to. Those are, I'm just seeing if this one works. Okay. Yes. Okay, so those start when you want them to, and they're individual and they interact for everybody differently. The videos at the south side of the library, the videos of fireplaces, those are simultaneous for everyone. So when people walk up to that, you're all going to be seeing the exact same moment of the video. And I think that holds some like really cool things if you wanted to do like if you wanted to have a video and have everybody seeing the same thing at the same time, you can do that, which I think is a really powerful facilitator tool to be able to integrate a video that everyone's going to see simultaneously. But you could also have things like, oh, if you get lost, check out this thing. Or if you have more time when you're done your group work, you can go watch this video. Those are some different options and ways you can integrate the videos together. All right. So we're going to move away from the library. We got another podium up here, but we're going to head back to the garden. Let's head back to the garden, everyone. Okay. And a reminder, garden is a large private space, which means as soon as you're in the garden, we will be able to, if you are unmuted, hear you. And if you step onto the podiums, we can see you. So I want to kick off this time with inviting people, if you have a question about anything we just experienced on the tour, go ahead and go to a podium, and that way you'll be able to, we'll be able to see you and you can ask your question. So any questions from the tour about any of the elements that we just did? Oh, Bruno's lost. Sam, would you mind going to see if you can wrangle Bruno? Just like a real workshop, some people some people may not have. Okay, so Joy, I see you, and then I see Crystal. Joy, you're still connecting for me, so I'm going to have Crystal go, and I hope that that will come online for me in a moment. Crystal, what is your question?
You may have already gone over this, Meg, but I wanted to ask, for the private areas, like the couches, can you lock those if you want to have like a private chat and no one else come in?
So you can't, but you could make them 2 people big. And I'm pretty sure that you can't, that you can't essentially sit on top of someone, you know, in the gather space. So I think you could make them 2 people big, and that would essentially lock it to a very, very small group, or 3 people big. You can make them however many people you want, but I don't think you can lock them and basically like close the door behind you. That would be cool. And I would like that, but I don't think that function exists yet.
Okay, thank you.
Totally. Rachel.
How long did like all of this take you to set up, and like is it intuitive or what?
So the other map, like setting up what you saw on the other map, almost all of that map is just stock. I just added I added some balloons, and I added a couple of notes if anyone found those, and the whiteboards. And that would take 15 to 20 minutes. This one took a few hours, but a lot of that was learning because it's not particularly intuitive. It's not particularly intuitive if you're starting from scratch. If you want to start with a template and just add things, that is quite easy. And that's what I would recommend. I wanted to learn how to build something from scratch, but their templates are great. And if you start with a template, it is relatively easy.
Joy asked a similar question on that front in the chat on if there were any tutorials with all these cheats, like all the different things you showed on the tour. Can you talk about the tutorials and how they're kind of weak?
Yeah, they mostly suck right now. Unfortunately, they're just not, they don't have a ton of like education. So yeah, there are some things out there, but to learn all of it took me a bunch of different, reading a bunch of different sources. But yeah, they Gather is not putting out good education about how to build Gather just yet. I think they will. They're relatively new, but not just yet. Joy, it's still showing as connecting for me. Is that true for you, Sam? Like for Joy's video and audio?
No. Joy, can you try talking and see if we can hear you? Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that is a bummer because I can't hear Joy. I don't know why it's not connecting.
I don't know, try meeting and unmuting Meg. But can the rest of y'all do like a thumbs up if you can hear Joy at number 4 on the keyboard?
Yeah.
You can hear. Yeah, it seems like it might just be Meg. Try muting and unmuting. I don't know.
Yeah, I did. Okay, I'm gonna try stepping out of their space. Let me see.
Joy, what do you got? What do you got? Yeah. Yeah. So, Joy, that idea of that comment of it feels like it could be really cool, but it's not fully fleshed out, is, I think, really accurate because it's a very new platform. As far as I know, it's only been around for 6 months or so, and they are adding new things every week. And one of the new things that Meg and I would love to see them add is a lot of tutorials and help, how-to sections. But I will say, if you go to the main website, the gather.town, there's a little demo you can do, and if you do the demo, there's a lot of instructions in the demo that kind of explain things, like walk this way with WASD or the arrows in your keyboards, and you can interact with this, and etc. And as you do that, it's like a more simple version, of what Meg did. And it gives you a good sense of what you can control and what you can't. That said, though, their tutorials, they need to do a lot more how-to and help stuff. I think for the less tech savvy or the less tech risky people, if they want this to be a bigger platform, it's an area where they have a lot of room for improvement.
Thanks, Joy. Sorry, everyone, that I couldn't hear you, and especially Joy, I couldn't hear you, but everyone else could. Thanks for your question. Other questions from the tour about any of the pieces, especially anything that you're thinking, I would love to use that, but I don't know, or I don't understand how it works? Okay. All right. If there aren't more questions, then what I might ask us to do is I'm thinking that it would be nice to get to connect with just a few people for a moment in time, so you can have a little bit more of a free-flowing conversation rather than all talking in this large group all at once. So what I'm going to invite you to do is head back in a moment. I'll give you the go sign. Head back in a moment and find two or three other people and find us some those red chair pods. And I would love you to just have a chat for 5 minutes or so about what you think what you think you could use Gather for as a virtual facilitator. Like, what new possibilities does this open up for virtual facilitation that maybe you haven't explored in a while because you used to do this in person, but Zoom just isn't a platform that you can use for this type of thing. So I just want to allow your facilitator brains to really roam free for a couple of minutes and have a chat with 2 or 3 other people about the potential for virtual facilitation on Gather. So let's head up to the couches.
Meg, you're not currently broadcasting, just FYI. We can't hear you once you left our private space.
Yeah, I noticed that the minute I stepped out. So I'm broadcasting again. So head to the couches. If there's 3 or 4 people there, head to another one. But yeah, let's get into little small group conversations and just have a little bit of a debrief of all the things that some of the things that you've experienced so far and just where your brain's going around using Gather for virtual facilitation. Okay, Zuzka, Bruno, I'll just encourage you to jump in to another conversation. Zuzka, we got space up here with Rachel and Sam. Awesome. And if you don't know each other, definitely introduce yourselves. I'm sure you're already doing that, but if you haven't yet, definitely do that.
Johnny, I'm near Seattle, Washington.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Oh. Hi, Meg.
Hi, is it okay if I just...
actually in our space?
I am actually in your space. I'm not broadcasting. Is it okay if I just kind of fly on the wall?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Can I ask you a question? You had said something about people taking time to situate themselves correctly in their seats. How did they do that?
Like if you walk out and then come back, Kirsten, you'll be sitting kind of the direction I would expect your avatar to, if that makes sense.
There we go.
Oh, now we're stuck. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me.
You did it.
Excellent. Some of the things that I was thinking about, like immediately, this is maybe like the first things that came to mind is it could be a really cool opportunity for break time. You know, if you're teaching online and it's time for a break, like one of the things that happens is people just turn off their videos and they go somewhere in their house. So you miss some of that, you know, the relationships that get built on break. So it could be an option to let people, you know, go hang out in a little pod if they want. And then I was thinking, so I was thinking about it like for downtime. So
yeah, kind of roundabout, but those are just my initial thoughts.
Yeah. What about you, Andrea, in Montreal?
Yeah, sorry. Before I had to put the wonders of being at the home, and I had to do something. So sorry, I missed the beginning. So yeah, I think the possibilities are endless. Me, that I work with youth age 12 to 18. I think this would be very, very attractive for them to get engaged. So that's where I see being used. The issue is you can't just jump into the workshop, right? You need to like train them on how to use this, right? So it'd be interesting to figure out sort of in the structure of the organization. I work for a nonprofit. How do you do that training on Gather before having them do an activity and stuff. But I think just the fact that you can move around this and around the space and explore and that. Yeah, I know.
Hi, I'm just fly on the wall conversation wise, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Romy, a similar thought process was going through my head. I definitely think that as I work with a whole bunch of different levels of professionals across a global network, and I could see some of those professionals loving this, like getting so into it. They're activity leaders at different camps and just totally jiving with the vibe. But I was trying to imagine like the CEOs across our network, first of all, trying to just navigate the technology and having the investment in trying to get them up to speed with, the technology versus like the total time that I probably would have with them. Like I think with certain audiences.
But yeah, I think the youngsters would like it. A lot of people like retro graphics. Hello, Max. Welcome to our private space.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for the welcome. I'm just being a fly on the wall in the conversations and seeing what people are talking about.
You did a good job.
I was going to say, one of the things that I thought could be possible here and would be really interesting is, those like exercises where you talk about privilege and you have people step forward or backward based on statements. It'd be really, I think what's interesting here is like seeing yourself as big as everyone else on that line, and how that's working out. And so when we were in the garden, I was like, oh, like how could I use this in facilitation? Where like everyone would still want to hear each other, but we'd be doing something together, maybe like spatially. So I thought that was one of the first. That was like one of my thoughts as we were in the garden there. Also, I love the statues. Thanks for those, Mac.
Really sets the mood.
Yeah.
The statues?
Yeah.
Oh, in the upstairs in the in the kind of gardens that we were walking through, it kind of felt like in Brussels, like there's this big park that has like statues, or in Paris.
I'm glad I can take no credit for that, but I love that you were reminded of physical places by just those 8-bit statues. I think that's beautiful.
Won't go the right way though. Right.
You got to go past it and come back. Like go out and then come back. Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And it wasn't just trying to get our thing placed the right way.
Awesome. Cool. Do you think timing wise, like bringing everybody back together, y'all had a good time to connect?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, everyone, I'm dropping into everyone's conversation simultaneously now. What's so wild about the Spotlight feature is you can all keep talking, but obviously it's kind of difficult to do that when I'm also talking. But know that you all can still keep hearing each other while I'm doing this. I just can't hear you. So I'm going to invite you to wrap up your conversations, and when you are at a nice closing place in the next minute or so, come back down to the garden, and we're going to hear some ideas from different groups. So come on back down to the garden when you are ready in the next minute or so. All right. Hey, Emily. Hey, Jason.
Hi.
Oh, everybody else can still hear me too. I'm going to turn that off for a second. One of my favorite things about, maybe I'll wait till more people are down here. I was going to share. Something I like about Gather is there isn't that hard stop of ending breakout rooms like there is in Zoom, where everybody just has to do what you say, but like there's still some autonomy. Like there's one group who hasn't come down yet, and I kind of like that, that they're the stragglers, and it feels very much like a real workshop where I said come on back, but some people haven't, and so you have to go and like more directly corral people. So I'll be right back. Oh, they're coming. Okay. All right, they're coming. Okay. So I would love to hear what folks were talking about in their small groups, and if there was any ideas that came up that people are particularly excited about. If you would stand on a spotlight square, we can hear you, even if you started talking right now, but if you stand on a podium, I'll be able to see you as well, and all of us will be able to see you. So if you're up for sharing some of the reflections from your group time, please go stand on or near a podium if you're like, Kirsten's talking now, so I'll do it after. But let me throw it over to you, Kirsten.
So my initial thought was, I'm getting some feedback. Do I sound okay? Yeah. My initial thought was probably like a boring one, but my mind first went to, one of the things I think people miss when I'm teaching or facilitating online is in breaks. In real life, you go over and you get some food and you would chat with somebody. And now people just shut off their video and go somewhere in their house. So we're missing some of the connection time. So it could be a cool option to set it up as a, hey, you go here during your break. And if you want to chat with somebody, go sit on the couch and do that. And I was also thinking about it. Another thought that popped into my head was less a facilitation thing, but I just remember the initial days of COVID, and everybody was having like their Zoom, family nights or friend nights or whatever, and everybody was just talking at once, and it was like chaos. And I thought, well, that could be a cool thing for that sort of thing too, like more of the not necessarily facilitated, but kind of social gathering kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in between space, right, if you're doing if you're facilitating, I can imagine facilitating a retreat. And even if you were wanting to do most of it on Zoom, having the option of like, hey, we're going to have some time, we're going to have lunch. If people want to have lunch together, we're going to do that in Gather, and we'll do a large table for people who really want to be social. And we'll also have a couple small pods if people would like to just talk to one or two other people. We'll have the pods over there.
Love that.
Yeah. Other folks up for sharing what your small group chats, some ideas that came up in your small group chats?
So Zuzka had to go, but I'll share what she reflected on. She was talking about just the use of physical space and how a lot of activities that we do, or like we used to do in the before times, you would use physical movement to make statements. For example, like privilege walks, if y'all have ever done those, where you take a step forward or backwards. She was talking about how you could do that in this. Yeah. And she was thinking like in the garden while everyone was interacting, just seeing people move around was making her think like we've all got these avatars. You can do statements of like moving closer or further based on reactions. And you can look around and see who's with you and who isn't, and have discussions like that. That would be very difficult to do in Zoom. Not impossible, you can get creative, but much more difficult than just saying, move to this corner if you agree with this statement, or move to this corner if you don't. And that's I totally agree there. I think that's one of the coolest things about this platform.
Nice.
I dropped into two different groups. We're talking about using this with youth versus using this with adults. Would anybody want to share a little bit about like what came up around that conversation of how you can see using this with youth versus using it with adults? Yeah. Is it Andrea? You can go to a podium, or I can spotlight you, whichever you'd rather.
You gotta stand right on the orange part, the orange circle. Yeah.
Perfect.
Everybody. Yeah, so I work facilitating and creating learning experiences for youth, and one of the things is obviously before we used to do this in the classroom and deliver the sessions for them in live, right? So now it's how do we sort of create that in-person experience for them online, and there's stress, everybody's stressed, everybody's dealing, trying to figure it out. And I think this is a really nice way to engage them, to really captivate them because they can move around and do things. And with the guidance of a facilitator, we usually work with with that shared Google Slides to do our stuff. So the fact that you can integrate the Google Docs for me is amazing because, you do that rather than, trying to train them on something like a mural, which you need to do that training, something that's a bit more familiar like PowerPoint. We'll be using Google Slides for that, and the fact that you can integrate that, it's awesome. The only thing that I noticed is that my computer is like really struggling to load this, like it's heavy. So the technology part there takes a big role, especially if you work with youth that are at risk or whatever, right? So because they have access to sturdy technology, I would say.
Yeah. You're so right about that, and it is heavy. It is a heavy program. My little MacBook Air is barely making it. And I did try out, just to mention, Andrea, the Google Slides does work exactly the same way as Google Docs. So you can do that built-in integration, which is really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, Haley.
Yeah, I was also reflecting on how to use this with different audiences, and one of the things that dawned on me was taking into account the investment in helping a particular audience understand the technology. Like it would definitely, I feel like I could see certain groups using this so beautifully, but just like you're doing with us right now, like taking them through a tour or understanding the different capabilities would have to be taken into consideration, because I was thinking there's certain groups that I work with where I just don't have the investment, or I don't have the time where I could probably get them to be able to navigate it fast enough. So that was just something I was thinking through.
Yeah. I'm curious about at the beginning. I did very little instruction when we did that kind of free exploration time, and I'm curious, Haley or other folks, what was your experience of having very little instruction and just experientially learning? If I go close to you or I go far away from you, how was that? Was that exploration enough to feel like I understand what's happening here?
For me, I thought that was very cool in learning how if I walk closer to someone to talk to them. But I guess it would depend on the purpose of the session. But in terms of helping them understand how to get into a room and a board and onto a Google Doc or whatever, I was just thinking that might take a few extra, just to make sure to build in some extra time so that you didn't end up just talking through the technology and not actually getting to the brainstorm part or whatever you're trying to accomplish. So, but I thought that I did like the experiential learning at the very beginning, and I'm sure you could build, different features into that as well.
Has anybody had a really different experience than Haley, where they're I'm still finding this incredibly confusing, or I wasn't oriented enough by that beginning, and therefore it's been a different experience? Or give a thumbs up, use that 4 Give a thumbs up if you found that initial experiential part like orienting enough, like where you got your brain around how this thing works. Okay.
Fours for the orienting.
For the thumbs up. Okay. Any other reflections that people have that they would like to share about how they're thinking about like what possibilities are here? Or any in-person work, in-person things that you've been missing doing that you're like, I would love to be able to do this on Gather because it, yeah, Rami? Oh, yeah, gotta be on the tile. Perfect, you're there.
Rami, you're muted. Oh, you're muted out. Nice.
So I was not so gung-ho about it until one of you wonderful facilitators just said the privilege wonk piece. Like, that is a game changer. And then I started realizing all the activities that I do where it's like the four corners, like find a partner in the four corner and chat, or like walk to the left or the right, or the spectrum work, like all that. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I get it.
Yes.
I think that can be really helpful. So thanks for those great ideas. And I think this, I keep saying this, but like that with my youth, I can see them really, really getting into this. So thank you.
Love it.
Yeah, Romy, same. And I don't know if you had this experience, y'all, but like when Meg came over to our small group and checked in on us, it felt so much more like a normal small group where like I was able to see the facilitator coming over. I knew that we were about to like get checked in on. Meg popped in, said hello, and then popped out. It wasn't like in Zoom where when someone pops in, I'm like, oh, this means our time is up. I just saw Meg, like I could see her going to the other groups first. I was like, this is cool. Like this actually feels like a small group in a way that a breakout room in Zoom does not usually actually feel like we're in a small group, part of a bigger group. I really like that.
Kristen, do you have another share?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering in the initial space that we were in, there were a number of game areas, like there was a playground, a basketball court, tennis court. Like, are those things that you can actually like make interactive?
So there are games built into Gather, and I can actually put some down if you want to explore after the brain jam and see which ones are there. But there's a couple of built-in ones. There's like a Sudoku that you can do together, but there's also like Pictionary and poker and set. So there are like team games. There's not basketball or tennis. There's nothing like that, but there is like some other games that people are familiar with that you can team play in Gather. Yeah, so there is that possibility of like real relaxation and fun collaboration in it. Yeah.
I might just say, Johnny was talking about conferences, and so that could be like with games, that could be a cool way to set up a, like it's the Thursday night and you're doing some gathering activities or whatever. You could be setting up some rooms like that where people could pop in or out or jump in on the Pictionary or the Knot or whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Sam,
the one thing.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the one thing to remember, y'all, is whatever you can do in a browser, you can do in addition to Gather. And because everyone's got the computer open and their computer's running right now. You can hear the fan. Everyone's in their browser. So what you can use is you can set up a little area. If there's a game that you play like in a browser, or if there's some sort of like activity that you do through an app that's a browser app, you can just have that corner like link people to open up that tab, and then they can still voice chat with each other while they're doing whatever that interaction is. So if there's not like a built-in integration, you can still use Gather just as to create the physical proximity of go over into this corner if you want to do this activity, and then open that up in your browser, and you'll all be able to hear each other and see each other and do whatever that is. Oh, Haley's hopping up. Hi, Haley.
Hi. Yeah. What's awesome about? Oh, sorry. Somebody just jumped in. I'd love to hear from you. No. Okay. What's awesome about what Sam is saying is that I think it's that freedom of choice where you can you can opt in by physically opting in Gather, right? In the same way that I didn't make the breakout rooms, I just let you all do that. And I think that that agency or that ability to opt into, I want to have a conversation, I'm going to hang out here on the couches. I don't want to have a conversation, I'm going to hang out here in the like individual pods, like, and being able to indicate to people that versus having very little ways to indicate where you're at on Zoom. I think that just opens up so much possibility and options. All right. Well, we are coming close to the end of our time, so I am gonna. I'll wrap us up by saying that I really love, Rami, what you were saying of just like this wasn't clicking for me, and then all of a sudden I was like, physical-based activities, I can do those. This is a game changer. And that's really how I felt when I was in Gather for the first time. I was at a conference and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can do spectrum questions again. I can like do things that I haven't been able to do and that I've just like left out of my brain in Zoom because it just wasn't possible, or it was very hacky and it just didn't feel like a smooth experience. And so for me, like that's just, Gather brought all of that energy and creativity back. So I will just invite people, if you wanted to explore anything more in Gather, spend more time with anything, everything is completely open and you can explore for as long as you would like. There, you can, I did put the games down on the basketball courts and the tennis courts. So if you want to go back to where we were and check those out, you can. I will stick around in this room for a little bit if people want to ask more questions or just you have more things that we didn't get into. But otherwise, I just want to do a little closing dance. So if we could all hit that Z key and do a little closing dance. Awesome. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate your time. I hope you got a lot out of it and hope to see you at another Brain Jam in the future.
Thanks. It was fun.
Good.
Go, y'all.